Hi, this is Mardy once again and welcome to my channel. Hello mga kababayan! Did you know that in pre-colonial Philippines, couples used to mix blood as part of their wedding ritual? Yup, romance with a dash of hardcore. And welcome back to At Home with Mardy. Today, we're diving into some mind-blowing marriage traditions from ancient Filipino culture. From bride prices to babaylans and even trial marriages. You won't believe what love looked like before the Spaniards came. Which of these traditions would you survive? Drop your answer in the comments. I wanna know. And hey, if you love discovering hidden gems from our history, make sure to like, comment, and hit that bell so you never miss an episode of Real Filipino Culture. Alright, let's get into it. Here's what marriage was really like in the pre-colonial Philippines. If you are new to my YouTube channel, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. At para updated kayo sa mga susunod kong videos, please click the bell notification below. At sana po, don't skip the ads and please watch until the end of my video. Number 1. Diverse forms of marriage. Marriage in traditional societies was not a uniform practice, but took on various forms influenced by social hierarchy, cultural values, and religious beliefs. One notable form was kawasa, which involved arranged marriages designed to strengthen political ties or secure social alliances between families or clans. These unions were often strategic, prioritizing collective interest over personal choice. Among Muslim communities, the practice of pakasar was common. This type of marriage was formalized through a contract and included the giving of a dowry from the groom to the bride, symbolizing respect and commitment. Another widespread custom was marriage by purchase or bride price, where the groom or his family provided goods, money, or livestock to the bride's family. This exchange was not seen as buying the bride, but rather as a way to honor her family and solidify the marriage agreement. These diverse forms of marriage reflect the rich and complex social structures that shape relationships in the past. Number 2. The rule of dowry and bride price. In traditional marriage customs, dowries and bride prices played significant roles in formalizing unions and symbolizing mutual respect between families. Two important forms of exchange were commonly practiced. The bigay kaya was a substantial gift from the groom to the bride's family, often consisting of valuable items such as gold, land, or even slaves. This gesture was meant to demonstrate the groom's capability to provide for his future wife and to honor her family. On the other hand, the dote was a contribution from the bride's family to the newlyweds, which could include property, livestock, jewelry, or household goods. Far from being a mere financial transaction, these exchanges serve as important cultural rituals that highlighted social status, affirmed family alliances, and symbolized the couple's readiness to start a life together. Number 3, the Babaylan's rule. In traditional pre-colonial society, the Babaylan, as spiritual leaders who were typically women or effeminate men, held a vital role in marriage ceremonies. These serve as intermediaries between the physical and spiritual realms, calling upon ancestral spirits and deities to bless the union. Through rituals, chants, and offerings, the Babaylan ensured that the marriage was not only socially recognized but also spiritually sanctified. Their environment emphasized that marriage was more than just a legal or familial arrangement. It was a sacred bond guided and protected by the spiritual world. Number 4, marriages as political alliances. In the noble and ruling classes, particularly among datos and other elites, marriage was often used as a strategic tool to achieve political goals. These unions were not solely based on personal relationships, but served to strengthen alliances between powerful families, settle disputes, or unite rival communities. The process involved careful planning and lengthy negotiations, with both families ensuring that the terms of the marriage would benefit their social or political standing. In such contexts, marriage functioned as a formal agreement that reinforced peace, cooperation, and the consolidation of power. Number 5, trial marriages and testing compatibility. In certain communities, couples were permitted to live together before formally marrying, allowing them to test their compatibility and understand each other's habits and character. This arrangement gave them the opportunity to decide if they were truly suited for lifelong partnership. If the relationship didn't work out, they could separate without facing social shame or stigma. This practice reflected a practical and flexible approach to marriage, emphasizing mutual consent and harmony. Number 6, weddings as community celebrations. Marriage ceremonies were not private affairs but grand communal events that often lasted several days. The entire village or community participated in these celebrations, which were filled with a variety of rituals meant to honor both the couple and the spiritual forces involved. Festivities included lively dancing, singing, and abundant feasting, strengthening social bonds among participants. In some cases, offerings or sacrifices were made to ancestral spirits or deities to seek their blessings and protection for the newlyweds. These elaborate gatherings reinforced the importance of marriage as a social institution and a shared cultural experience that united families and communities. Number 7, divorce was possible and socially accepted. Contrary to later colonial and religious doctrines that often condemned divorce, pre-colonial societies recognized divorce as a practical and accepted part of marriage. If a couple found themselves incompatible, or if issues such as abuse, neglect, or infidelity arose, either party had the right to seek separation without facing social disgrace. Divorce was viewed as a necessary option to protect individual well-being and maintain social harmony. This acceptance reflected a flexible approach to marriage, one that prioritized the health and happiness of both partners rather than rigidly enforcing lifelong unions. Number 8. Symbolic rituals in marriage ceremonies. Marriage ceremonies were rich with symbolic rituals that represented the union and commitment between the couple. One common practice involved binding the couple's hands together using a cord or cloth signifying their physical and spiritual bond as they join their lives. In some communities, bloodletting or the mixing of the bride's and groom's blood was performed, symbolizing the merging of their beings and the creation of a lifelong connection that went beyond mere words. Another meaningful ritual was the breaking of rice cakes or the sharing of food, acts that embodied unity, prosperity, and the sharing of life sustenance. These symbolic gestures reinforce the sacredness of marriage and the deep responsibilities that came with it. Number 9. Post-marriage living arrangements. In many communities, it was customary for the husband to live with or near the wife's family after marriage, a practice known as a matrilocal residence. This arrangement often lasted during early years of marriage and highlighted the significant role of the woman's family and lineage in the couple's life. Living with the bride's kin provided support and strengthened familial bonds, ensuring that the wife remained connected to her heritage and community. It also reflected the social structure where the woman's family played a central role in nurturing and guiding the new household. Over time, this arrangement could evolve, but the initial matrilocal residence underscored the respect and importance given to maternal ties. And number 10, superstitions and omens in marriage. Marriage ceremonies and preparations were deeply intertwined with a variety of superstitions, beliefs, and taboos aimed to ensuring a harmonious and prosperous union. For instance, couples often avoided marrying during certain phases of the moon, as some phases were thought to bring misfortune or instability to the marriage. Observing animal behavior was also common. Unusual signs such as the screeching of a lizard or the sudden appearance of certain birds could be interpreted as bad omens, warning against proceeding with the wedding. To navigate these spiritual concerns, families frequently consulted babaylans or shamans who performed rituals and readings to assess the couple's compatibility and to ward off any negative influences. These customs reflected the belief that the success of a marriage was closely tied not only to social factors but also to spiritual harmony and cosmic balance. Hello again mga kababayan! If you live in pre-colonial Philippines, would you go through the blood-mixing wedding ritual? Or say no thanks and walk away? Let me know in the comments. I wanna hear your take. And can you imagine if these traditions still existed today? Which one would be cool? And which one would be a total deal breaker? Tell me below. Daghang salamat! Thank you very much for watching. And according to Soren Kierkegaard, life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. Special thanks to my sources from Google, photo credits to nightskylight.blogspot.com, and inspirational quote credits to goodhousekeeping.com.